So for a couple years now, we have been going through the exercise, which for many years has felt just theoretical in terms of who will be the next program to be a first-time national championship winner. So we do the same thing for coaches as well. Obviously, it's a larger circle for coaches than it has been for schools and programs. And that's because until last season, we had not had a first-time national championship winning program in terms of claimed recognized national championships since Florida in 1996. That was broken by Indiana. Now, reason why I want to bring this up, if we look at the history of programs winning their first national championship, what I found, gentlemen, were some clusters. Now, it's not, overwhelming, but the idea that Florida in 96 came on the heels of Florida State in 93, shout out Danny and the Knowles, on the heels of Colorado in 1990. Then before that, a huge cluster of Clemson in 81, Penn State in 82, Miami in 83, BYU in 84, then a huge gap, much like the gap that we had seen before. I was able to reach back to Arkansas in 64. But again, even beyond that, it starts to get a little claimed, not claimed. It starts to get a little bit dicey. So as we start our conversation with programs, you think we are on the precipice in this era of maybe getting, much like we did in the 80s, much like we did in the early 90s, are we on the precipice of seeing a cluster where the championship winning club gets some new members?
What'd you say?
Said no.
No?
I said no.
No.
Okay.
I mean,
I say yes.
I do feel like it's harder to say now because of the current landscape. Like we really don't know. Like the sport is changing so much, but I will say the pattern, the last national champions, we went from Michigan to Ohio to Indiana. So we're going around Lake Michigan right now, which means Illinois will win this year. And then next year, 2 years from now, it'll be Wisconsin, who I believe has not won a national title. So maybe that's who we should be looking at.
I did have a Big Ten school, but I did not have a traditional.
The same
Big
one
Ten
we've had
school
for like the last 10 years. Pretty much.
and also,
true.
For the purposes of the way I was doing this, Tom, Illinois has already won national championships.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I feel like do we need to reframe the conversation, like the first national title or the first one of the modern era? Because there's a lot of schools that won national titles in 1940, and that is not the same thing to me. I'm sorry.
Indiana had not done it at all.
Ever. Yeah.
And I've got 7 schools that I've a couple that are very much closer, but 7 schools that I would at least nominate for potentially being close. Danny, you said you've got a Big Ten school. Is it a school that recently joined the Big Ten?
Yes.
I mean, that's
yeah. I already got them in the national championship game. Remember, I hope they booked their tickets.
It's Texas.
Dante Moore's coming back against Texas. They've been knocking on the door. They've been getting close. I think they've got to be the number one candidate of these schools. The odds makers already, they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the FanDuel odds makers to win the national championship. So they have the best odds. And they've got the resources. I think that's a big part of this conversation is who is going to spend or who wants to spend to get that first national championship. And I think Oregon clearly has that desire, and they have the ability to back it up.
Agreed. It's just like what I said a minute ago. We've been calling Oregon this team for a very long time now, and they have not broken through. And I would say there's a new dog on the block.
Texas Tech?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the other
one.
Why
is Oregon? Because the way that they spend and the way that they're doing it. Well, guess who's started doing that itself now? Texas Tech. And I feel like Texas Tech, and we don't know what the format's going to look like exactly, but they have an easier path to the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
Like Oregon might have to fight for at-larges because they're not guaranteed to win the Big Ten every year. They've still got to deal with Ohio State, Michigan, USC, Penn State, Indiana, all these programs that they have to get through first. Whereas Texas Tech, right now, it looks like BYU is their only real competition. Maybe Utah, depending on how Post-Whittingham looks.
So if we're in our 24 team playoff, conference championships don't matter. You just got to be a top 20 team to be able to get in. Texas Tech, I think, undeniably is it's Oregon and Texas Tech in the top tier. If the starting point for which programs could you see getting it done in 2026? Oregon with Dante Moore, Texas Tech with Brendan Sorsby, the rosters that they have, the path that they have in the current college football playoff format. Oregon and Texas Tech, to me, are where it gets interesting for 2026. Do you want to hear a few other nominations that I would propose? This is
I got some too.
Okay, all right, go.
I mean, I think those are the clear, like they're like legit, like you can picture it happening. None of us would be surprised. But I do think if we see another Indiana situation where you see a team get hot out of nowhere, I mean, and wouldn't it, I mean, if this was ever wouldn't it be hilarious? Wouldn't it be hilarious if James Franklin leaves Penn State where he never could win the big one? Virginia Tech, a place that has an empty trophy case that they put in since 1999 that they have been waiting to fill. They play in the ACC, which is wide open behind Miami. Like half the battle's getting there. Now, I am definitely talking my way into this one, but I think if you would have said this about Indiana a few years ago, you would have said, there's no chance. Now, do they do have the financial commitment? They do have a ton of players coming in. I think they're a part of the conversation when we're having this one. I don't think it's a zero sum. I don't think it's zero chance, but I think they have to be in this conversation.
James, I know you're a big fan of the Cover 3 podcast. I want to address you directly. I am sorry. I was disrespectful. Virginia Tech under James Franklin is a terrific call for could the pieces come together. They played for the national championship before. They've gotten to the sweet taste. They've been in BCS bowl games. And I was so disrespectful, I included their rival on my list.
Whoa.
The way Virginia has spent and changed their approach to football, I think is worth
great call.
It's worth considering that they could keep things moving. They continue to get these record gifts. They continue to really prioritize making sure that football is just not something that you do as a cocktail hour, but a sport that you want to go and field winning teams for. I mean, Tony Elliott just led one of the most successful seasons in the 150+ year history of Virginia football. So do I think that that's a program that maybe, you hit right on quarterback and a few other things? Do I think that's one that could be there? Absolutely. I think I would rank James. I do rank James Franklin ahead of Tony Elliott in terms of my own personal coach rankings. And I do think the Virginia Tech investment is something that I overlooked, but Virginia has been investing over the last year, 2 years. So they've at least gotten a head start there. I had Virginia on my list of 7 to be able to potentially be a candidate to go and make a run at it.
Should I read off a list of Power 4 teams that haven't yet, just so our listeners are more aware, in case they don't already know?
Sure.
Boston College, Arizona, Utah, Texas Tech, we mentioned, Mississippi State, NC State, Oklahoma State, Mizzou, South Carolina, Oregon, we discussed, Arizona State, West Virginia, Virginia Tech, Wisconsin, Cincinnati now, Purdue, Louisville, Vandy, Kansas, Duke, and Chip's beloved North Carolina Tar Heels. So those are the teams that we're dealing with, trying to figure out which one's going to be the next to win their first.
That's great context, Tom. I appreciate it.
It's not a great list.
Whoa, no. Whoa. Louisville, also on my list.
Okay. Yeah, Indiana just won a national title, so I got to check myself by saying he's got no shot of winning. But Louisville's not winning the national title.
I think Utah is interesting.
But with Whittingham leaving, that is going to be they had such a long, sustained run of success going from Urban right into Whittingham, and being able to sustain that through not just the 2 coaches, but through 15 different conferences that they were in during that time period too. So Yeah, I don't know. Like I have confidence Utah is going to remain one of the better teams or more consistent teams in the Big 12. I need to see it with Scally before I can really sit there and say I think they've got a shot.
Arizona State's probably one. I mean, they did make the playoffs once.
Yeah.
You got Cutter Boley coming in, who showed some shines at Kentucky. They also have Mikey Keene coming in. I can't believe that's a name still going around. It is hard for me to believe in them as a true player when I see Kenny Dillingham begging for money, and begging local restaurants to name menu items after them so they can pay the players for them. It does make me a little bit concerned, like what's the top end? But I think the fact that success they've already had has to have them in the conversation at the top of the list.
If I give you Vanderbilt and Missouri, which one would you take? I've got both of them on my list of potential nominees here.
Ooh. Only one of them has Barton Simmons as their general manager, so I'm taking
and the number one of the top quarterbacks in the country coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Vandy.
Yeah.
Why not?
Right.
Knocking on the door of the playoff this year. Again, copy and paste some of what I was talking about in terms of they have seen investment. They have figured out ways to be able to raise the talent level of the program in the modern era, overcome what's always been looked at as some of the academic, academic hurdles that have to be overcome in terms of fielding a competitive roster in the Southeastern Conference. I've got Vanderbilt on my list. Absolutely. What about Mizzou?
They have the financial buy-in. I don't know if they have it to the level of some of the other programs. And we also saw that is a state that is willing to change its state laws to help accommodate its football program in this modern era. It's just a bunch of other states have now since followed suit. So the edge that they had there is not quite there. But that's a talented team year in and year out. It's just it's having difficult time getting to that level of being able to consistently win against SEC opponents. They're kind of like the SEC's Maryland.
Well,
they're killing you in September.
Well, Missouri is also another one of those programs where when I was doing my research here, I was like, have they really just never won one? Like they didn't even get a shared one, and just to think about the consistency just growing up, sort of the Gary Pinkel era, right? I mean, Gary Pinkel rarely had bad teams. No. They were frequently in the mix, oftentimes flirting with, top 5, top 10 status, some epic years in the Big 12. And I was like, man, just they didn't pop once. And the answer is no. So that one was a surprise given the school footprint, talent base. Missouri putting it all together. I think that for some people, the sleeping giant term gets thrown around a lot. I think that we could read Missouri finally putting it all together for a title run as a little bit of a sleeping giant awakening moment.
It's interesting as we're talking about these teams, Missouri, Vanderbilt, they're right in the same grouping on FanDuel's national championship odds. Utah, we already discussed, and BYU is in there. BYU's Kalani Sitake's kind of elevated them. I mean, they got their quarterback back.
They've got the 1984 national championship.
Yeah. Oh, duh. Yeah, I forgot about that one.
But Kalani Sitake can pivot us into that next conversation.